Greetings to everyone. Today, let enrich our wisdom and deepen our understanding of the essence of life, a truth we have forgotten, yet it is the very nature of our being. At present, we are entangled in the manifestations of the elements of life, having lost sight of the original essence, the root of existence. Instead, we are captivated by the appearances of life's elements, much like entering another dimension, a realm where a physical body is necessary, where we rely on this voice to communicate, on mental images, emotions, and sensory perceptions to navigate our experience. We find ourselves confined within this dimension, relying on these tools to communicate and interact earnestly. Yet, we remain unaware that the true essence of our lives is not connected to any of these things. Consider, for example, this body of ours. It does not last forever, does it? If the body ceases to function for any reason, be it an accident, a sudden shock, reaching the age of 80 or 90, or even the impact of war or natural disasters, it disintegrates and stops working. The question then arises, where are we? Another example is when we are in a deep, dreamless sleep, entirely unaware of this world. When we fall into a deep sleep, imagine we go to bed at 10 p.m. after a long day of work. At 10 p.m., we fall asleep deeply, completely unaware, and wake up again at 5 a.m. 7 hours pass as if we've disappeared, only to reappear at 5 a.m. During that time, where were we? When we were in deep sleep, where did we go? Can we observe this? Can we recognize that our life essence, our true essence, is not tied to this physical body? It is not connected to the endless thoughts that occupy us day and night, nor to the voice we use to speak, or the inner voice of our mind, which we call thoughts. This voice that speaks, the constant thoughts that arise, and the values we assign, can we see this voice? Can we observe the mental images we create? Can we notice our emotions, the feelings of satisfaction, dissatisfaction, neutrality, or calmness? Whether it's the voice, the mental images, the emotions, or even the awareness of the present moment, like hearing the teacher's voice right now. Do you see how it happens on its own? You don't need to intentionally try to hear. It happens naturally. You don't have to train yourself to hear. It hears by itself. Do you understand this? When we were newly born, fresh from our mother's womb, it was the same. It heard by itself, saw by itself, smelled by itself, and tasted by itself. It feels hot or cold by itself. Does it need to train or develop mindfulness first? No, it doesn't need training or effort. It simply knows on its own, doesn't it? Have we ever noticed that, even now, it hears by itself? So, where are we in all this? Let the essence of life answer. All we need to do is observe. Just observe. Listen to the teacher's teachings often and observe attentively. By observing closely, we will see that the voice that constantly speaks and the mind that continuously thinks do so on their own. Thoughts arise on their own. Emotions, whether of satisfaction, dissatisfaction, or neutrality, arise independently. Even if we try to command emotions, saying, "Don't get annoyed," or "Stay happy all the time," do they listen? No, they follow their own nature. Can you command the mind, saying, "Don't think about this, think only about that"? Can you tell your thoughts, "Stop thinking now, just be silent"? Can you instruct yourself, "Do not perceive anything right now"? No sounds, no sights, no smells, no tastes, no physical sensations, nothing at all. Be still. Even if you try, it's not possible, is it? Right now, it hears sounds by itself, doesn't it? and it already understands this language and its meaning on its own. Correct? Can you see that there is a natural process at work, a nature that operates continuously? This nature knows on its own, thinks on its own, imagines on its own, and feels emotions on its own. These processes function independently, constantly performing their tasks without needing any direction. Have we ever noticed that the body ages on its own, falls ill on its own, and ultimately dies on its own? Look at the heart. It beats on its own. Observe the breath, the lungs. They function on their own. Right now, the liver, kidneys, and intestines are all working autonomously. All we do is provide food for it, and that sustains it for a day. Feed it another meal, and it keeps going. If we give this body just one meal a day, it functions perfectly well. One meal a day is enough to sustain this body comfortably. But here's the point. Have we ever noticed that while we are in deep sleep, we are still alive? It's a life that exists without any of these things, without even the body. When we are in deep sleep, the body is absent. In that state, there is no sound, no thoughts, no mental images, no emotions, and no sensory perceptions. None of these remain. They are completely cut off. Yet something still exists. There is still the essence of life. Do you know that this life essence, or our mind, remains? This mind or life essence is profoundly pure, utterly clear and untainted. In this original purity, there is no fabrication or conditioning. It can be described as empty, empty of all constructs. Nothing resides within this pure, original essence. We are this original essence, the life essence without form or shape. We are a formless nature, yet full of life, requiring nothing to sustain it. It remains clear and pure in its essence. If we turn inward and go against the current of external focus, we might discover something within that we have never known before. Today's world teaches us to seek knowledge outside ourselves, but if we shift our attention inward, we will see a profound truth. The teacher has created recordings about the essence of true peace, the universal nature that transcends suffering, what can be called the true essence of life. These recordings are being made continuously, with the aim of producing hundreds of them to guide us toward this realization. The teacher will not reference or align with any specific religion. The goal is for everyone in the world to hear this, knowledge that leads to complete liberation from suffering, knowledge that ensures we no longer return to be reborn or rely on these conditions ever again. All the recordings created by the teacher can be played for children, even as young as 3 or 4 years old. The content is highly beneficial and suitable for everyone on this planet. If possible, these recordings should be integrated into the educational system so that every school can play them for students at least 1 or 2 hours a day. To help children recognize the true essence of life, these teachings are accessible to everyone. Children, the elderly, people with disabilities, women, men, people of all faiths, races, nationalities, and social classes. There is no division. We must realize that it is we who create these separations, identifying as belonging to this country or that, dividing into groups and societies, each claiming their own. We follow different beliefs, and that's okay. Whatever one chooses to believe is fine. These differences arise because we come from distinct societies and heritages, each with its unique customs and beliefs. Whether divided by caste, social status, or wealth, be it high or low society, all these divisions are created by us. Divisions such as rich or poor, intelligent or ignorant, and other distinctions are constructs shaped by the world. But do you know there is one thing we all share? It is not our bodies, as these differ. Our faces are different. Our skin tones are different. What we do share, however, is the mind, the essence of life. This mind, or life essence, is the root of all things. It is the origin, the foundational essence from which all elements arise. In science, we've learned about elements like hydrogen combining with oxygen to form another substance, or carbon mixing with silicon to create something new. These transformations reflect how physical elements interact, though the details escape me at the moment. Science identifies countless elements, but do we know where these elements originate? Let me ask, do we know where the universe itself came from? The stars within it, the sun, black holes, dust particles, darkness, light, everything in the universe. Where did it all begin? If we watch scientific programs, they often explain that in the beginning there was emptiness, and then an explosion occurred from a single point. Isn't that right? Let me explain further. From a different perspective, we can see that in the beginning there existed an origin element, what we might call the fundamental essence, the very root of all things. This essence is remarkably clear, pure and pristine. In its clarity and purity lies the very nature of its essence. Within this essence of clarity, there is nothing at all. This is what we call emptiness. In this emptiness, which is clear, pure, and part of the original essence, lies the fundamental nature, an essence that is profoundly clear and pure. From this pure essence, an explosion occurs, not from nothingness, but from the original essence itself. Nothing can arise from complete nothingness. There must first be an original essence, referred to as the primal essence. It is like the human body, which must begin with the smallest fundamental element, known as DNA. Without DNA, the immense variety of forms could never come into being. The body expands and diversifies into countless forms, depending on causes and conditions. It evolves and transforms in infinite ways, but it all begins with DNA, the primal element. This is a simple analogy to help illustrate the concept, though in reality, it goes even deeper. The point is that everything arises due to causes and has an origin. Remember, everything has a beginning, even our existence. But we are not this body. We think of ourselves as human beings, don't we? If we believe we are human, we identify as women or men. But why do we look the way we do? Why did we choose this appearance? Who determined that we would have this appearance and this body? Who? Let's set aside references to God. This is unrelated. What I want to explain is the origin element of our being. Let us gradually turn inward, going against the flow, to study the knowledge of the mind, the essence of our origin, or our life essence. By doing so, we will come to understand the life essence that is our true origin. This essence within us knows no suffering. It is the primal source of all things, encompassing the entire universe. Our life essence is a pure, clear emptiness without form, a transparent, pristine substance. When I turned inward and awakened, I saw this essence clearly within. I have seen that this body arises from the fabrications we create ourselves. We use this voice to assign meaning, labeling it as our body, our arms, our legs. Look at your arms and legs. Do they themselves say they are arms or legs? It is this voice that claims, this is the left arm, the left leg, the right leg. Now observe all things around us. Everything we see does not declare itself to be anything. It is this voice that says, that is a mango tree, that is a house, that is a car. The voice says, this is a wall, this is cement, This is a stone. This is metal. This is the sky. This is the earth. It is this voice that speaks. Look closely. None of these things speak for themselves. So where does this voice come from? I turned inward and discovered this. Tears fell as I realized it. Everything arises from this voice. So, where are we? Where does this voice come from? I observed the voice that speaks within the mind, from the moment I woke until I fell asleep. I saw it continuously, more and more clearly, noticing its increasing subtlety. I realized that it assigns value to emotions, satisfaction, dissatisfaction, neutrality. These emotions themselves have no language. They are just states. But this voice says, I'm upset, I'm happy, I'm content, I'm suffering, I'm at peace. This voice narrates everything. As I observed more deeply, I saw that even this voice assigns meaning to its own state. It claims itself as the voice. But in truth, it is not actually a voice. It is merely a ripple, a vibration within the boundary of the life essence. Imagine clear, pure water. This clear water represents the life essence. At the surface of the water, there is surface tension, isn't there? When something touches the water, it senses the contact, and ripples form. These ripples create an effect, and that effect is what we perceive as the voice. Do you understand? Our life essence is a clear, pure substance, profoundly pure. It only seeks to understand, to learn what it truly is, because we cannot fully know ourselves. Why? Because we have no form. We are a pure, formless essence, a life essence without shape or form. Reflect for a moment. We suffer because we have form. Our suffering arises because we rely on this voice, mental images, emotions, and sensory perceptions. By depending on these, the states of suffering and happiness manifest. But what if these things were absent? I turned inward and saw these very phenomena. I observed the voice that constantly speaks, continuously active. I kept observing until it broke apart and completely dissolved. Even the perception happening right now, hearing the teacher's voice at this moment, can be observed. Try closing your eyes. With your eyes closed, the body disappears, yet the life essence remains. However, this essence has no form. It simply knows that it is alive. But it does not know what it is or what it contains, for it holds nothing at all. Now, try closing your eyes and observe. You will still perceive sound, smell, and contact. Notice carefully. It perceives on its own. I turned inward and discovered that this awareness operates independently. What ripples into sound is also an autonomous ripple. It moves entirely on its own. On the day I saw everything with such profound clarity, the perception became more and more refined, until it was reduced to nothing but a subtle ripple, constantly vibrating within. As I observed with this depth, understanding emerged. It was clear that none of it was truly me. And then it exploded, like being struck by lightning directly in the center of my chest. It erupted with a tremendous boom, and everything became radiantly bright. It felt as if my chest had been hit by an explosion, as though a bomb had been placed at its center and detonated. Everything disintegrated, dissolved completely, utterly. It was as though the entire world had exploded and disappeared. What remained was an all-encompassing clarity, a radiant brightness that filled everything, embracing all. After that, I gained profound knowledge about the mind or the essence of life. There is no doubt in me. I simply know that my purpose is to guide everyone toward liberation. My role is to proclaim this truth so that everyone can come to know the life essence, the original source. Do you know that when this essence is fully realized, it becomes evident by seeing clearly that nothing is truly us? The voice that speaks is not us. The mental images, emotions, and awareness, all of these are not us. Let them fulfill their functions. Whatever emotions arise, whatever states occur, whatever thoughts come, let them be. None of these things are truly us. We are a natural essence that exists in a dimension seemingly beyond this world, beyond this universe, a completely different realm. We are the original, pure essence, clear and untainted, containing nothing. Within this pure essence, there is only clarity and purity. It requires no form, no manifestation, no states of being. This essence can merge seamlessly with everything. If we were to connect with all things, it would be as a force that integrates with everything without needing to go anywhere or come from anywhere. It is everything. We are one with the clear, empty vastness that permeates the entire universe. It is all one and the same. We can compare this to the water in the vast ocean, representing all life essence, encompassing the entire universe. Imagine taking a single drop of water from the ocean. This single drop is separated and placed in a container, becoming an individual, a person, an animal, a self, or an other. Each of us resides in our own container, carrying this single, clear droplet as the essence of life. This essence inhabits the bodies of pigs, dogs, fish, chickens, shrimp, shellfish, crabs, birds, worms, and earthworms, whether underground, on land, in water, on the water surface, or in the air. All living creatures, no matter how small, have within them this clear droplet of life essence. Even among all of us, we tend to believe that we are this body, but we are not this body. We are the clear essence, like a single drop of water, this pure, transparent essence. One day, when we turn inward, we will realize that this body is certainly not our true self, as it is impermanent. This form is merely a temporary vessel we inhabit, like a shell of a conch that we borrow for a time. We continue to change vessels, shifting from one body to another. When this body dies, our life essence, our mind, floats away, seeking a new body. Then we cling to the idea of being a water creature, a bird, a land animal, or a being underground. We are caught in the delusion of identifying as this or that, constantly clinging to these identities. But do you know that when a body dies, for whatever reason, our life essence seeks a new body and is reborn? Once again, we become attached, believing we are this new creature. Life repeats itself, being born, eating, sleeping, and seeking food. This cycle continues, eating each other, harboring anger, hatred, and causing harm. They eat us, and we feel anger. We eat them, and they feel anger. This cycle of connection and interaction persists, binding us together through a shared pull, leading to endless encounters of consuming and being consumed. As our body dies, this essence, this life energy, moves on to find yet another body, and the cycle begins anew. This cycle repeats endlessly, birth, eating, sleeping, and dying, over and over again. Birth, eating, sleeping, and dying. Some creatures we inhabit may live only 2 days before their life ends. Others may live a week or 2 months before dying. The lifespan of each being we inhabit is short. Even humans do not live long in the grand scheme of things. Whatever form this life essence inhabits, it is always a temporary vessel. Do you understand? But the mind, the essence of life itself, is eternal. It has no age, it has never been born, and it never dies. It does not come or go. It is one with all things. One day, upon turning inward and discovering this within, everything exploded and collapsed entirely. It all shattered, leaving no sense of self as a person, The words being spoken now, they are not spoken by me. This is not even a voice. It is merely something rippling, vibrating within. This body does not claim to belong to anyone. As a result, everything was transcended, no suffering, no attachment to anything. Yet the sense of awareness remains unchanged. It is just as it was before realizing the nature of the mind and the essence of life. How it was before, it remains the same now. It is unchanged. But do you know how it is no longer the same? It is no longer the same because now there is understanding, awareness of the truth. Before it did not know, but now it knows. There is no doubt. It knows that this is the last lifetime that this form will be used, and that the life essence will not be reborn again. It knows this with certainty. Why? Because the life essence has attained realization. This essence of life exists solely to come to know who we truly are. Think about it. When we were born, we didn't know where we came from. When this body dies, we don't know where we will go. Even when we are in deep sleep, we don't know where we are. It is constant unawareness, unaware of why we were born, what we are seeking, or what our purpose is. Yet we strive, compete, fight, and destroy one another. For what? To earn money, mere scraps of paper. We assign value to this paper, and in doing so, become its slaves. We fight, hate, and destroy one another for this paper we call money. From morning to night, we toil endlessly. For what? For a single plate of food. We work tirelessly, as if we are slaves to this body. We have become servants to this form we inhabit. We have become slaves to this piece of paper. We have become slaves to this voice, these mental images, emotions, and perceptions. We are enslaved by this fabricated world. Do you know that we are the primal essence, something far greater? We are the magnificent source that created all these things. Yet, as we inhabit these creations, we have become like powerless children, controlled by them. It is as if we are imprisoned, living as captives. We work tirelessly from morning to night for scraps of paper, just to eat a single plate of food. But sustaining ourselves with one plate of food requires so little. Just a moment of effort would suffice. A single meal is enough to sustain life. It doesn't demand the endless struggle we endure today. These days, we work tirelessly from morning until night, to the point of exhaustion, tears streaming, overwhelmed by suffering. But why? We were not born to suffer. We were born to learn that everything in this world is temporary, belonging to no one. No one owns this body. No one owns this voice. No one owns these mental images, emotions, or perceptions. Even the awareness of hearing this voice now. There is no one who owns or directs this knowing. It simply knows on its own. Nature knows, and this knowing arises naturally. Emotions arise and fade on their own, naturally. A feeling of suffering appears and then disappears. A feeling of happiness arises and then fades away. This voice emerges and then vanishes. All these states are self-operating. They arise by themselves and dissolve by themselves. Why do we foolishly cling to these things? If we could simply see that none of this belongs to us, if we could merely observe inwardly, awakening within, we would see the voice that speaks. Seeing it clearly, we would understand that this voice is not us speaking. It is simply something rippling, a vibration. Observe it. It cannot be grasped or held. This voice has no substance, no true self. And yet, we allow ourselves to suffer because of it. Our overthinking leads to neurosis, stress, migraines, stomach issues, and even cancer. Why are we being so unwise? We weren't born to be lost in attachment to these things. These conditions are not who we are. They are merely manifestations of life's elements. This body serves us, helping us discover our true nature. To realize that we are the pure, empty essence of life, we must see that none of these things are truly us. Make note of this fundamental truth. Write it down and post it in your home. Stay awakened within and learn to see that even our thoughts are not who we are. Remember to write this down. Observe carefully and see. Just notice. Who is it that speaks? Ask yourself often, who is speaking? Who owns this voice? Who is behind these words? Who is this voice? The one that speaks. See clearly that it is merely a function operating on its own. It is our servant, a worker in service. We could call it the thinking officer that speaks constantly in our hearts. In our hearts, there is no mouth, yet it speaks endlessly. Simply observe from within. This is called inner awakening. Just keep watching from within. Just observe from dawn till dusk. Just notice and see. Understand deeply that thinking happens on its own. Thoughts arise by themselves. See this clearly. Understanding comes this way, through constant inquiry and observation. These emotions occur by themselves. See this clearly. The awareness itself hears on its own, sees on its own, smells on its own, tastes on its own. When food enters the mouth, knowing happens by itself. Feeling cold happens by itself. Feeling hot happens by itself. Observe in this way. When you truly observe and see, it becomes clear. These are not who we are. Understanding dawns that these are not our true self. The life force now clings to these functions. When the life force sees these functions are not us, we can call them our servants. We can call them the thinking officer, contemplating officer, emotional officer, and knowing officer. These four officers, even this body and memory, are natural phenomena functioning on their own. Observe carefully and understand this point from waking until sleep. Even seeing this 5 times a day is good, but we only need one true insight. When that flash of understanding comes, there's an instant breakthrough, complete liberation. When the life essence breaks free from these conditions, it's like pulling a high voltage wire. Imagine grabbing a live high voltage cable and yanking it, while electricity still flows through it. We grip its insulation and pull until it breaks. At that moment of separation, there's an explosion of realization. Some experience this as seeing the body dissolve completely into particles. But this is an inner knowing. Understanding arises that we've broken free from these conditions, transcended human limitation, and released ourselves from this worldly realm. Me, pure, luminous essence, radiating throughout the entire universe. We become one with the cosmos, utterly pure and clear. Then we realize we were never born, because this understanding fills our heart completely. We see clearly there is no self in any moment. Even now, as these words are being spoken, there's no sense of a speaker remaining. The understanding is within. This knowing fills the heart completely. It's an understanding of absolute clarity. We see with perfect clarity that we are not connected to these spoken words. These words being spoken are not us. Who is speaking? We don't know. This body needs no mention. It is very coarse. This voice is not us. Mental images that arise are not us. These emotions, satisfaction, dissatisfaction, neutrality, none of these emotions are ours. This knowing is not our knowing. The hearing of sounds right now. Observe it right now. This moment. This second. Notice it now. Hearing the sound right now. See? No practice needed. Hearing happens. No need to intentionally hear. Just observe. Hold on to the teacher's voice gently. While listening to the teacher, just observe. Just hold on to the teacher's voice gently. We'll see that the teacher's voice is something that ripples within our consciousness, Dive deep within to the life essence, deep into our inner nature. Whether we call it mind or life essence, they are the same. Try closing your eyes now. With eyes closed, the body vanishes. Try holding on to the sound. The teacher's voice will echo in your present consciousness as phrases and sentences. When the sound ends, there is emptiness, nothing. When sound comes, knowing arises anew. Do you notice how it knows by itself? When sound ceases, there is emptiness. No knower, no sound. But when sound arises again, knowing emerges again. Do you see? Do you see? Do you see? Observe it this way. See how knowing happens by itself. And where is this knowing? We don't know. And where is the sound? We don't know. They are merely ripples in the pure emptiness of life essence, vibrating at the outer edges of life force. Can we see there is no self that knows? Can we see there is no we who knows? Can we see that these words are not us speaking, not us thinking, not us contemplating, not us having emotions? Emotions are their own natural phenomena. These emotions are not our emotions. Those who are deluded sink into emotions. Oh, such suffering, such suffering. They left me, such suffering. No money to pay debts, such suffering. While we're suffering, can we observe that these states are natural phenomena? No one is actually suffering. These are conditions arising and manifesting according to our thoughts. Imagine this. We're sitting here peacefully, completely at ease. Then we imagine wanting stewed eggs with tender pork leg. We speak these thoughts in our mind. At first, we were just sitting comfortably with nothing particular happening. Then we create a mental image, a plate of stewed pork leg, hot rice with stewed eggs. We say in our mind, oh, if only I could have that tender stewed pork leg, soft-boiled eggs in stew, with steaming hot rice. I want it so much. Now, when we create these images and thoughts, the point is, are we aware that we're thinking this way? Do we know we're having these thoughts? Can we be aware of this? If we're not aware, let's say we're not aware, we just keep thinking and mumbling to ourselves, I want that big tender pork leg, soft stewed eggs, hot rice. Then emotions arise, a yearning emotion, a craving emotion, wanting it so badly. Then the emotion of not being able to have it because we have no money. As we think in our mind, no money at all. What to do? Do you see how this inner voice speaks? Then emotions arise, intense emotions building up, anger emerges, dissatisfaction arises, and we sink into these emotions crying, why am I so poor? Why do I suffer like this? Why don't I have what others have? Why was I born this way? Why can't I be like other people? Why can't I even have stewed pork leg? And we cry and whimper. Wait. Do you realize that all these emotions are natural phenomena? Every time we think, the thought itself is a natural phenomenon. It's like throwing a stone into water. Ripples form. Once these ripples arise, we try to disturb the water again, slapping at the surface repeatedly, hoping to stop the ripples. But as we slap the water's surface, it keeps rippling endlessly, doesn't it? How do we make the water's surface stop rippling? Simple. Stop slapping the water. Just sit quietly. Don't interfere with the water. Understand? Don't interfere with the water. It will become quiet, settle by itself. The water will become still on its own. Don't interfere with the water. Understand? If we imagine a glass filled with water, about half full, there's water halfway up the glass, and at the bottom of the glass, there are colored particles. The sediment is completely still. The water is clear. and the colored particles rest at the bottom of the glass. The particles settle at the bottom while the water remains clear and the glass is transparent. Now, suppose a small pebble falls into this glass. The colored sediment swirls up into that clear water. The clear water begins to become cloudy, already half murky, because the colored sediment has risen up. Do you know what we do? We pick up the glass. But if the glass just sits still, if we don't interfere with this glass, the colored sediment rises up by itself, right? When something disturbs it, the sediment swirls up in the clear water. Correct? No need to interfere. The colored sediment will gradually settle. The water will become clear again on its own. No need to interfere. No need to do anything. This is the truth. The truth is this. When something disturbs the colored sediment, it naturally swirls up in the water. No need to interfere. After a while, the sediment gradually settles back down, resting still, and the water becomes clear again naturally. This is the truth. We don't need to do anything with nature. Just see that all of this is natural. But what do those who lack wisdom do? When the sediment swells up, they immediately grab the glass. They grasp the glass, trying to control it. Oh, sediment, don't, colored sediment, don't swirl up through all the water. And we hold this glass, walking back and forth, back and forth. It sloshes around, back and forth, until the color fills the entire water. Then we cry and wail. What should I do? Why does it swirl up? The water isn't clear at all. What should I do to make the water clear? We walk back and forth, and the water keeps sloshing around, the colored sediment swirling throughout the glass. This is not something we need to interfere with in nature. Our only role is to see nature as it is. When something disturbs it, it swirls up. When nothing disturbs it, it settles back down, and the water becomes clear again as before. In conclusion, don't interfere with nature. Let it perform its function. When something impacts the colored sediment, it performs its natural function. The water is the foundation of everything. When the sediment dwells in water, it naturally swirls in the water, and these particles will settle back to the bottom of the glass when no one interferes with this water, with this glass. Do you understand this, everyone? Just grasp this principle, understand it this way. We simply stay inwardly aware, observe from within, watch these phenomena, just observe. This is how I am. I just observe from within and watch these phenomena. Just observe and see that thinking happens by itself. I don't interfere at all. I just watch. Watch how these states arise by themselves. Then the sound disappears. Mental images appear on their own. Then mental images disappear. Emotions manifest on their own. I don't interfere with them. They arise by themselves. Then emotions fade away. This knowing happens by itself and then vanishes. I merely observe these phenomena this way. When I first started, there was inner knowing, but no one to teach me. I flowed with it, sank into it, got caught up in intense concentration, trying to see it all day long. It was so exhausting. But later, when understanding came, when breakthrough and release happened, I realized afterwards that we don't need to interfere with it, because it's not who we are. No need to try to prevent this body from aging. It must age. No need to try to keep this body from illness. It must fall ill. No need to struggle and strive to prevent this body from dying. This body is born to die, to dissolve. This voice is just natural phenomena. Mental images are just natural phenomena. Emotions are just natural phenomena. No one owns them. When I first started, there was inner knowing, but no one to teach me. I flowed with it, sank into it, got caught up in intense concentration, trying to see it all day long. It was so exhausting. But later, when understanding came, when breakthrough and release happened, I realized afterwards that we don't need to interfere with it because it's not who we are. No need to try to prevent this body from aging. It must age. No need to try to keep this body from illness. It must fall ill. No need to struggle and strive to prevent this body from dying. This body is born to die, to dissolve. This voice is just natural phenomena. Mental images are just natural phenomena. Emotions are just natural phenomena. No one owns them. We cry day and night. Suffering continues. Complaining persists. Depression sets in. Loneliness follows. And illness overwhelms us. Now, do you see our foolishness? No need to forbid nature. Just observe. When the image of stewed pork leg appears, thoughts begin about getting that big, tender pork leg, and we're thinking. If we notice whether we're playing with thoughts or not, playing with mental images, playing with thinking, if we just see this and understand, why should we play with it? When we see this clearly, these thoughts, these mental images will completely vanish. Emotions cannot arise, understand? Emotions just remain neutral. We're just sitting here quietly. How could we possibly eat stewed pork leg? We're just sitting quietly at home, yet imagining ourselves sitting at a nice table. There's an image of us at this fine table with a large stewed pork leg on a big plate, soft stewed eggs, and a plate of hot rice. We picture ourselves sitting there, mumbling about wanting to eat, wanting to eat, wanting to eat. Wait. If we become aware right now that we're imagining, we're thinking, if we can see this, the thoughts and mental images will fade. The emotions will disappear too. Whether they fade or not doesn't matter. The point is to understand not to be foolishly attached. Don't flow into attachment to this voice. Don't flow into attachment to these emotions. Don't flow into attachment to this knowing. Don't flow into attachment to these emotional states. Just become aware. Oh, I'm thinking, and it's finished. This knowing will release. This knowing will dissolve by itself. Nature manifests itself and dissolves by itself. No one owns it. Just don't interfere with nature. That's all. Let's not interfere with nature. It's like that glass of water with colored sediment resting at the bottom. When something disturbs it, the sediment swirls up. When it swirls, don't suffer over the swirling. Don't suffer. Don't get angry. Don't hate. Don't get anxious about what to do. Why is the sediment swirling? What should we do? Help. What should we do? No, we don't need to do anything. Soon the sediment will settle by itself. Don't interfere with that glass of water at all. Understand? Likewise, don't interfere with this voice. Don't interfere with mental images. Don't interfere with emotions. Don't interfere with this knowing. Let these natural phenomena do their work. Let this body be born to age, to get sick, to dissolve according to its nature. Take it to eat food. If there's food, eat it. Eat once a day, the body will be strong. Feed it nutritious things. Take care of this body as best we can. If one day it falls ill, take it to the doctor. If the doctor says it can't be cured, then that's the end of it. The body's affairs are not our affairs. When this body dies, that's its business, because we now know. We know that these thoughts are not us. Mental images are not us. Emotions and knowing are not us. There is no us in this world at all. We are the life essence, empty and pure. We only need to guide this life essence to understand this truth. If we simply know that we are this pure essence, then why are we deluded? Why do we get angry, hate, seek revenge, harbor ill will, curse, kill, destroy each other, fight over land? The earth is the natural state of this world. The earth has no owner, fighting over land, fighting over food. Food is also of this world. Everything comes from this world, exists in this world. Even this body belongs to this world. This voice is a tool to be used in this world. Mental images are phenomena to be used in this world. Emotions are phenomena to be used in this world. This knowing is a phenomenon to be used in this world. But our life essence has nothing to do with this world. We were never even born into this world. There are only phenomena, like we're sitting in one dimension with a large screen, and we control this large screen to manifest one body, along with voice, images, emotions, and awareness. We get this large screen and control buttons to start this body working. We sit watching this body and control it through buttons, making this body gradually learn, gradually eat, gradually grow, gradually learn language. Everyone teaches us to think, to remember. At school, they teach us to think, to remember, to make a living. So we make a living, then sleep, then wake up to make a living, then sleep, then wake up to make a living, then sleep, then wake again. We become absorbed in the story on the screen, believing this is our body. Raising and sustaining this body to grow as it has is no simple task. We control this body, dictate how the voice speaks, direct the mental images, emotions, and awareness to function in this way. We orchestrate everything on the screen of this life, completely controlling the narrative. We become engrossed in the story, in the character we are directing, and we suffer greatly, suffering deeply from poverty, from being abandoned, from working tirelessly, yet never being as wealthy as others. There is only suffering, only hatred, only being disliked. Everywhere we go, there are only unfavorable circumstances, and so we suffer deeply. Wait, stop for a moment. Wake up. These stories all exist on the screen. They are part of the screen, but we are the ones controlling it. It has nothing to do with us. We are in an entirely different place, a pure and pristine nature. What is functioning here is not us at all. The sound of my voice speaking now is not a true self. This sound is merely a tool for communication, a means to convey that it lacks any inherent self. Truly, we use this body to transcend the body, use sound to let go of sound, use mental images to relinquish mental images, use emotions to abandon emotions, and use awareness to release awareness. None of these things constitute our true self. We simply must not cling to them. Use them, but do not hold on to them. Live in the world, but remain unattached to anything in it. Rely on the body, but do not cling to it. Rely on sound, mental images, emotions, and awareness, but do not hold on to these things. All of these are beyond control. They are simply their natural state, existing as they are. When we receive teachings, such as from listening to these recordings, we hear this truth. As I've shared, it is vital that we help spread these teachings far and wide. Let these recordings reach every corner of the world. Let everyone hear this wisdom. It is a truth we've never known before. We may have studied countless external subjects and earned countless degrees, but none of these can free us from the cycle of birth and death. We are born only to grow old, experience pain, die, and face suffering. We are born only to grow old, experience pain, die, and suffer, only to be reborn again with a new body, to grow old, experience pain, die, and suffer once more. This cycle repeats endlessly. We have changed bodies countless times, but have we ever stopped to notice? Were we born just for this? We were not born merely to grow old, suffer pain, die, and endure suffering. We were born to realize the truth, that we are the essence of life itself. This body is not ours. The sounds, mental images, emotions, and awareness are not who we are. We are the essence of life. Once we come to know this truth, observe it carefully. Truly observe. The voice speaking now is not us speaking. Pay attention. Just notice. This awareness arises on its own. Thoughts arise on their own. Emotions arise on their own. Observe carefully. When you truly see this, it will break free, snapping apart completely. It feels as though you are being pulled out of the state of being human. When this release happens, you may cry. It's as if everything you believed about being human in this world was never real. It feels like you were deceived. This is what happened to me when I broke free. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't sob, but the tears flowed as I thought, how could I have been so blind? Who could have known that things are like this? It's as if the story we believed in was merely playing out on a screen. Once we receive guidance from what's on that screen, we begin to understand. Here is one who understands the essence of life teaching from within the screen, urging us to awaken. The stories on this screen are not the truth. We are the ones controlling from beyond. The voice that speaks is just part of the story on this screen. The mental images, emotions, and awareness, all are part of the screen's narrative. But our true self is the essence of life. Wake up and do not be deceived by the stories on this screen. When we, engrossed in these stories, receive the message from within the screen that it is not real, we are startled, shocked. Am I the one controlling this? Is this just a story on the screen? When we realize the truth, it is as if we are waking up from a deep sleep. We have been asleep for 1,000,000 lifetimes. Suddenly, someone tells us that everything we are experiencing is just a dream and urges us to wake up. We begin to wonder, is it really a dream? What part of this is a dream? We still feel pain as before. This body is here. It still hurts. If someone insults us, it still stings. We are hungry now, and hunger still arises. Everything feels as real and vivid as ever. How could this possibly be a dream? But within the dream, there is someone, a wise sage, saying the same thing I'm telling you now. They appear in the dream and say, wake up. You are dreaming. You've been dreaming for millions of years, across countless lifetimes. It's not us. How can that be? We can hear the sound right now, can't we? It hears itself. It knows on its own. How is it not us? Are we thinking right now, or are we not? What is thought? The mind is constantly speaking, always thinking internally. This voice, this thought that keeps speaking, who is it? Who is the one speaking right now? This voice, when we observe it, yes, that's it. This voice is not us. It knows on its own. When we understand this, it feels as if we are jolted awake, suddenly pulled out of something. As we open our eyes fully, we realize, was it all just a dream? And tears begin to flow. Why are we crying? How could we have been so blind? Was it all just a dream? This is exactly what it feels like. Upon awakening and rising from the bed of ignorance, we see that everything was just a dream. We believed it was real. Having a family, struggling to raise children, earning money and wealth to support them, buying numerous houses, acquiring multiple cars, and earning countless doctorate degrees. And now, we realize it was all a dream. Tears flow as we berate ourselves. How could I have been so foolish? This is how it feels on the day we break free. A profound clarity arises, illuminating various dimensions of truth. That is why I began teaching and recording these teachings, hundreds of recordings, to share this understanding with all of you. A universal recording has now been created, focusing on the essence of world peace, the core of life, and the true nature of our existence. This is knowledge, a discipline not fully taught anywhere in the world. Anyone who listens to this recording daily, from morning until evening, listening repeatedly with focus, will begin to understand. Understanding leads to deeper observation within. As this understanding deepens and becomes firmly rooted in the heart, one realizes there is no true self. This realization brings a sense of lightness and freedom. The more one listens, the lighter and freer it feels, as if living in this world without the burden of suffering as before. Previously, for example, when someone spoke harshly to us, anger would immediately arise. But nowadays, if someone speaks poorly, so what? It's gone. If they speak kindly, it's also gone. If words simply disappear either way, why should we get angry? Why should we let ourselves feel joy or sorrow over such things? When we let go, it becomes light, it becomes free, and wisdom arises, a wisdom that understands the nature of things. If we don't engage with sounds, they lose their meaning. Words lose their meaning. Mental images lose their meaning. Emotions lose their meaning. What is known simply knows on its own. This brings lightness and freedom. The more we listen, the more we understand. The more we understand, the lighter and freer it becomes. For example, if you sell something and make only 150 baht, you won't find yourself thinking, why did I earn so little today? Will I fail? Such thoughts won't arise. Will we have enough money to pay off our debts? Will we be able to save money to support ourselves in our later years? What should we do? Why are we so poor? These are the thoughts that arise for those who engage with their thinking. They dwell on such thoughts and end up stressed and suffering because of them. But for those with wisdom, it's different. If they sell something and earn only 150 baht, they simply see it as, today I earned 150 baht. So be it. They use what they have to eat and save the rest to sell another day or to sustain themselves. Eating just one meal a day is enough. Life can be simple and comfortable. They might listen to recordings of the teachings while selling their goods, gaining wisdom along the way. It feels light and free from suffering. They live with ease, not burdened by life, because they understand it for what it is and realize there is nothing truly worth clinging to. There is nothing in this world that we truly need more than peace. You could have millions or billions, possess all the diamonds and gold in the world, even take ownership of the entire planet. But do you realize? You would still eat just one plate of food as before. We are born only to age, fall ill, and die. When this body dies, no matter how much wealth, gold, or status you have accumulated, death remains inevitable. And then what? The mind remains ignorant, lacking wisdom, and it seeks a new body. It might be reborn as a fish or other aquatic creature. Does wealth help in such a situation? Does greatness or arrogance serve any purpose? Rebirth might lead to being a fish eaten by others, a land animal hunted, or a bird captured. What is gained from such cycles? Or be born as a human is incredibly rare and difficult. Yet, once we have this human life, we spend it seeking, striving, and accumulating material things from the world. If you desire so much, take the whole world, take all the land, all the diamonds, all the gold. And then what? Can you eat them? In the end, you still eat just one plate of food, as always. Do you see? The wise, the enlightened, do not focus on learning about external things, for they have already studied them countless times, over countless lifetimes. We have all been everything there is to be. But one thing we have never truly known is the mind, the essence of our life. Come and study this. Come and learn this knowledge, and you will be free from suffering completely. To be born as a human is incredibly rare and difficult, yet once we have this human life, we spend it seeking, striving, and accumulating material things from the world. If you desire so much, take the whole world, take all the land, all the diamonds, all the gold. And then what? Can you eat them? In the end, you still eat just one plate of food, as always. Do you see? The wise, the enlightened, do not focus on learning about external things, for they have already studied them countless times, over countless lifetimes. We have all been everything there is to be. But one thing we have never truly known is the mind, the essence of our life. Come and study this. Come and learn this knowledge, and you will be free from suffering completely. If we focus outward, we get caught in judgments. This person is bad. That person is good. This one is talented. That one is rich. This one is evil. It leads only to criticizing, gossiping, blaming, anger, hatred, and constant conflict. Instead, try observing inwardly. Within, there is only awareness, teaching itself. There is nothing that is truly. Thoughts arise on their own. Emotions arise on their own, and awareness knows them as they are. Why does it feel so light, so free, so peaceful? This inner clarity brings ease. It creates an understanding that what arises within is not truly us. When we see this, we begin to understand every facet of our own being, and in turn, we naturally understand others as well. And then there will be no desire to be angry, hateful, critical, or harmful toward one another. Instead, there will only be a wish to share, to guide others to listen to these recordings, to hear this truth. There will only be a desire to tell and teach others how to live in this world with peace, calm, and genuine happiness. Why suffer over anything? With little, we eat one plate of food. With much, we still eat just one plate of food. What is there to hold on to when nothing in this world truly belongs to us? Be at ease. Do not suffer over anything. Simply remain aware, inwardly. Do you see how awareness arises on its own? When we deeply understand this, we will find our way out and be free. One day, we will realize for ourselves that we will no longer return to be reborn. This is our final existence. May everyone encounter this truth swiftly and suddenly. Let this recording conclude here. Thank you for watching and engaging with these teachings on awakening. If you found them meaningful, we would deeply appreciate your support through subscribing, liking the video, or sharing your thoughtful comments.